Hello everyone and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today we're back with Species in Depth, and today we're covering an excellent species here because today is the Tribals. Today we're going to go over the Tribals, and of course, as always, I'm going to be co-host Lily. Lily, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Lily, and I'm first of the Giblins, and today, the Tribals, the reason why we're covering it is because of not only is it like a really good species, it is so organized, and they're also, gosh, I lost the word, Danny, help me.
They are they your allies? Is that what you're saying?
Alliance,
Alliance. They're your
yes,
allies. Okay.
and, not only that, but one of their, like, Council of Tribals named Cam. Also, there's Sky. Hi, Sky. Thank you for commenting on a lot of the species in depth, by the
Yeah,
way.
you commented on all of them. I really love the input that you put in there. I love those comments.
But not only because of those two are part of my staff, but because Cam is finally graduating college, or we probably missed it, but this is our congratulations on graduating.
Yeah, it takes a lot to graduate anything, really. It takes a lot to graduate high school, let alone something as long and as hard as college. So that's a really impressive achievement. I really hope that, I really wish you the best of luck with your degree and whatever future you have.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so
we're going to be
let's go
talking
ahead
about
and the lore.
yeah, let's go ahead and go into the lore and everything like that, which there is a ton of lore. It definitely seems to be a little bit more than what the Pasto Pingus had, and definitely more than any other species we've covered besides Pasto Pingus. And I'm all for it. So we're gonna do like we normally do. We're gonna take turns reading each section or whatever. So I guess I'll go ahead and start and talk about the origin of the Tribals. I also love how they're all like in chapters, so to speak, because you have the expurgate or whatever down here, and the tribal gems and powers and stuff like that. So they're kind of in chapters, so to speak, and I like that as well. So Lord was a renowned and infamous man in the tribal community. He and the council's origins dates far back before the expurgates was even thought to be inhabitable. He was just another purgatory soul waiting in the longest line known to everything for his fate of heaven or hell. He was minding his own business when suddenly an angel had appeared. It seemed to be counting the souls that were in line.
The empty soul, thinking it was the rare occasion of the gods being generous and choosing some lucky souls to go to heaven, he cut his way in the line and pushed the soul behind him forwards. As the angel stopped on him, they looked him dead in the core of his soul and said, "To the expurgate, you pitiful beings, go." Oh god, I'm stuttering. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
As the heavenly figure snapped its fingers, a crack had phased the ground and grew larger with each panicky voice. "Bye bye, darlings."
As every soul on the count fell down, the Lord stared at the angel with fear and confusion. The angel smirked and pushed him in. The screams of the dead echoed in the emptiness, that dark abyss that grew colder and colder as he fell.
It's making me want to learn more about what the hell this type of angel is. Is it a fallen angel disguised as an actual angel?
Yeah,
That's what it's making me think.
It's also like, what is this expert gate and everything else? I hope we're saying that right, but it makes me wonder what that is and everything else. A lot of interesting things here. That's like the first three paragraphs have got us hooked.
It's telling a story. It's telling us a story.
Yeah, it's telling a story.
That's what a lore is supposed to do. That's what people get into the lore for. Yeah. Because you're telling a story.
Yeah, and you get more in the story by looking at the lore and everything. So they're doing an excellent job so far. But anyway, you want to continue?
With no choice in the matter, the Lord spent the rest of his eternal afterlife in the pit. The expurgate was that demonic angel had called it. As that demonic angel had called it. The Lord was sure he was an alright man in his life. He was a ruler and a good one in his opinion. How dare that angel toss him into what he supposed was hell?
As millions of years passed, he grew lonely, and all the souls that had gone into the abyss with him were just mindlessly moping around the cold plain, never chosen to be fated. Was he destined to be a limboed soul forever? He felt no emotion before when waiting in that line, but nothing coursed through him now but anger. Soon, though, more and more souls began to appear in the expurgate instead of purgatory. After the void had begun to quickly fill with the extra souls of purgatory, he had realized there needed to be a society, a system, and a community. He, of course, had planned to be the lord of this misty kingdom. Who else was fit as perfectly as him for the job?
In the beginning, he was mature, cool-headed, and rational. Of course, with more souls pouring in, he had grew stressed as the only ruler to deal with this enormous power. So this is why what I'm saying, the Council of Tribals, this is, I
Yeah,
feel, the reason why they have that.
Okay, let's pause here for a second because we've talked before in other species in depth episodes about self-inserting and doing it wrong. This looks like it's doing it right. They are inserting their counsel into the lore, but they're doing it the right way by saying what they're about to say, essentially. Because they're not just being like admins, they're saying, people, and it makes sense. Everything is fitting right, and they're doing it right. It's not like a bad self-insert, it's a good self-insert, in my opinion.
He had become close to another soul who had gone by many names and forms. They were close friends, and so he had entrusted them to be the future leader too.
Right after they were coronated into the rightful place of apprenticeship, they started right away with the Lord's work. As the leader grew with more free time, he had been addressed by a demonic creature from the depths of hell for an offer. When they had met up, the grimly thing had offered some magical crystals for the price of their lives and freedom to visit the earth realm.
At first the Lord had not believed in what the creature had said about the mystical gems. Sorry, my brain tends to put mythical with mystical.
Yeah.
So, what do you expect? We're both ADHD.
Yeah.
That also explains why we stumble on our words.
Yeah.
And especially about the part where they'd be allowed their memories and past lives again. And even furthermore, that they'd have the ability to manipulate their own bodies of mist. How could all of that come true from one tiny crystal? Well, the demon had demonstrated it in full action and had proved the crystal to come true.
The Lord observed his powers. He completely forgot about the exchanging your right to reincarnation and visiting the overworld part and accepted immediately afterwards. As the greed consumed him slowly, he had never told the entire void of souls why they randomly woke up with gems in their bodies. And hell, even bodies. He only relied on his powers growing childish and utterly ridiculous. A certain group had come to see the ruler's hijinks and grew tired of his greed and tyranny. The brave Six had created a plan to lead their so-called amazing lord into a room of the fake overworld and rip his crystal from him and throw the mystified mess into the purple void below the islands. The Six were each individuals that represented the void.
Okay, so it's not getting to the Council of Tribals yet.
It's not.
But you can...
It seems like
you can obviously tell.
It seems like it's leading into that, and it seems like this six people here are gonna be that council or whatever,
The first being the apprentice of the madman. He was the three-colored man that represented actually maturity and compassion.
The second being one of the longest and oldest souls in the void. She was the red woman of laughter, also and forever been the woman of many jokes and insanity, in a good way, of course.
The third being the silent child of the entire void. She always kept to herself, but had represented the innocence to protect the void.
The fourth being the biggest and famous icon of the void, the hot pink and blue star that represented sensibility and the public.
The fifth being the first foreign soul from another dimension similar to Earth. He had represented diversity amongst the multiple universe and creatures in their galaxy. Wow. My ADHD kicking in.
The sixth was a close, mutual, and very trusted individual towards the first. She was the caretaker of the void, being a mother of her own. She represented the mentality of the void and stability in the void's shifting moods.
These six saviors had staged a coup and overthrew the Lord and his most vulnerable, leaving the man to fall endlessly in a pool of mist. He had finally been served his plate of disgust and revenge. forever exiled from the islands of the Expurgate.
As he became a lost and faded tyrant of the leaders, the Six had decided to buy the public to.
Legends.
Oh yeah, it did. It did say that. I completely skipped over it. I'm sorry. I'm not wearing glasses. As he became a lost and faded tyrant of the legends, the Six had decided by the public to form a council. There's the council that we were all expecting to see. And like I said before, this is the proper way to self-insert. This is why there's... The lore isn't why there's council in the tribals. The tribals and this server is why there's a council for the lore. Or at least that's what it seems like. That's what it feels like. And this is the proper way to do that, because you didn't just be like, oh, admin, mod, they're the council, and yes, you did it right. You formed a council for a proper reason in your lore, and you incorporated the people into it and stuff. You did it the correct way, I think. So it consisted of them and other helpers in their shaded community. All was better, and the maddening man had finally been put to rest, and the middle world had become a haven for those unchosen.
That's what I want to read about, because that's what got me interested in what is this Expurgate?
Yeah. Go ahead and start.
Also, can I just say that they have like a bunch of beautiful artists in this community?
Yeah, they do.
Please?
They have a lot. We'll look at that in a second and kind of go over the design and stuff like that. When we go over the design and stuff like that, we'll look at the art and stuff.
The Expurgate. The Expurgate is a cold and desolate plain, anchoring itself directly above hell. Originally, the Expurgate was created by the gods to harbor extra souls that didn't fit in heaven or hell. So basically limbo.
Yeah.
This is their version of limbo.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like from the previous lore as well.
These souls didn't fit the criteria of either being too good for hell or too corrupt for heaven. And so, they were thrown here. However, after having been in this plane for many centuries, the tribals have made the Expurgate into a home of sorts.
The terrain of the Expurgate is very dark and dreary for the most part, with a dark sky void of stars and yellow coarse sand being a major part of it. There are large rocks and I think that's supposed
canyons.
To say, yeah, that's supposed to say canyons, but they misspelled it, and that literally threw me for a loop there. There are large rocks and canyons littered around the Expurgates, jutting out in various places alongside giant glass formations scattered around the world, which reflect the low levels of light with a glimmer. The Expurgate is a very windy and prone to sandstorm.
Within these
really
rock
it.
formations are, just detailing the world.
Yeah, I love how detailed that is. I love how detailed it is and how descriptive it is. Like, because of this, I can see this world that they're living in now. It's not just, oh, they live on some random planet with plants and animals that don't exist in your world. I can actually see where they live now because they've told us and they've explained it and they described it. And that's, again, the right way to do it.
And honestly, though, reading about the tribals, slowly but surely, makes me want to actually create a tribal after this video.
Yeah.
Because of how beautiful their lore is.
Yeah, I've actually made one a long time ago. Like, I made one a long time ago, and then I ended up leaving the tribals. But that was before, when I was part of it, there was like a totally different leader and totally different system. The server didn't really necessarily look like this. So I ended up leaving because for the most part it was overwhelming and stuff. So I ended up leaving it, but I still have the tribal. So I
might want to try to get your name claim or whatever again.
I don't know. I imagine I don't know. I don't know how that works now because I'll have to talk to them. I'll talk to talk to Blackwood or someone. Anyway,
within these rock formations are cave systems, some of which can stretch for miles. Deep within these caves, you can find pits of luminous water, which sheds a bit of light. However, even though they seem shallow at first, these are very deep, going hundreds of miles down. The water becomes darker and darker the further you go, until it's pitch black. This zone is where aqua tribals thrive, which that's really cool, and is saying, oh hey, it may look not that deep at first, but I'm sorry, but it kind of automatically reminds me of, oh hey, Earth's ocean is this deep.
Yeah.
and it's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But here it's like this is where another version of the tribals live.
Yes, and for those who are confused on that, there is multiple variations of these tribals and stuff like that. You have it's actually in the lore if I just scroll down a little bit because they explain each of them. So they have the land tribals, the striped tribals, the Pharaoh tribals, the seraph tribals, and the aquatic tribals. They have a handful of variants here, and yeah, I think they're doing an excellent job with this.
Your turn.
Yeah. Though there aren't many plants around the expurgates, their main flora and poriflar. What the fuck? Oh, their main flora are poriflar trees. So that's like a made up tree. I was like, is this a tree? Am I supposed to know this tree? So the porta potty tree.
No.
That's what I'm reading when I look at that. I don't know why. They're similar to willow trees in structure. Their leaves glow with typical cooler colors, and their branches and wood tend to be a dark and purplish color. The wood from these trees are very, very strong and typically used to build houses for the tribals, as it can withstand windstorms. There are also flowers that bloom once every year for about 2 weeks, which are called the seleniums. Why did I get the one with all the words that I can't pronounce? Seleniums is what I'm going to call them. They tend to grow between cracks and rocks, and they're very resilient. Selenium blooms are light blue and have 5 petals. They smell like caramel. Okay. They also put off a gentle glow similar to the poriflar leaves. Again, this goes back to what we were talking about before, earlier in like the first or second paragraph of the expurgate. They are describing everything with such good detail that I can see these plants. Like I can see these plants now because they've described them so well. I feel like I understand their world as much as anyone else in their world would understand it. They're doing such a good job at explaining all of it.
Yeah. Tribal gems and powers. Now, this is where we learn more about the tribals themselves. Yeah. And I love how they have the lore building of the world after you just learn their origin. And then you get into the tribals where it's like, here's what they are all about.
That's a very good way to list that off. That's a good order to have it in. Obviously, if you wanted to make a species at home or whatever, you can order it how you want, but this is a very, very good order because it just got you hooked. It got you hooked with all that information, and now you get to learn what the tribals are about. Because after reading those first 2 chapters or whatever you want to call them, I'm sitting here like, okay, let's figure out what tribals are all about. I'm ready for this. And now we're getting into that. We're gonna, get this tribal gems and powers, and then the tribal invariants. So it's I'm ready. Let's go.
With their new home, each soul was given a form held together by a gem. The gem was like their life source. Well, technically it is.
Yeah.
It manipulated the mist in the surrounding area into a body that could be reshaped into any form the host pleased, human or animal. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to do that, I think.
Once a gem was claimed by a soul, 2 scars would appear below it, literally sealing the deal that this was who the individual was now. So basically, you can be anything you want to be.
Yeah, but once you're that thing forever. That's what it seems like it's saying here.
If the gem was damaged, the host would suffer greatly as they slowly revert back to a mindless husk, and eventually another lone soul roaming in the expurgate that no one could no longer help. That is sad.
Yeah, that almost feels like a way for them to be like that almost feels like a way for them to explain new tribals. So it's sort of like, oh, you were this before, but now you're this, because it feels like this bit of lore right here just explains how more tribals are not necessarily born, but like how more tribals come into the tribals. Like people that aren't in tribals, like you, for example, you're technically not in the tribals yet. You are, but you're not, you don't have a tribal and everything like that. It feels like a way for them to explain how that character came into the universe versus just being like, oh, it was always there, And that's interesting. I really like that. I hope I explained that well anyway. The gems that were given to them also gave each and every tribal their own unique power. These powers range from a simple increase in strength to the ability to completely control others. Each one is unique to each tribal. Two tribals may have a ability similar to each other's, such as being able to teleport yourself versus only being able to teleport objects, but the power is still unique to them. Every ability comes with its own flaws, as well as a price to pay. Many powers, if used too frequently, could lead to serious damage, either mentally to the host or to the gem itself, leading to the complete loss of control or corruption. Corruption, like powers, is also unique to each tribal. Signs can go unnoticed for days, weeks, or even months. By that time, it's too late to be reversed, so it's extremely important that powers are managed carefully and that their gems are properly cared for. That, to me, feels like their way of being like, hey, you can't have a very OP character here, because if you do, it's just going to get corrupted. So that feels like a way for them to try and balance out OP characters and stuff. That's what that feels like.
And now we get to explain the type of tribals, which I
Yeah.
find very beautiful.
And there are 5 of these, including land tribals and all the other ones that we mentioned earlier. What type of tribal one becomes depends on how they died, which I think is very interesting. So go ahead and start off with the land tribals, and then we'll just take turns with these as well.
Land tribals are the most common version of tribals that you'd see. They have freckle faces and wear striped socks. Nothing that unique about them compared to striped and Pharaoh Tribals, who are variants of land tribals. These tribals are so commonly seen because they can be the results of so many different causes of death: sickness, car accidents, fatal injury, etc. They were the first type of tribal to roam the expurgate, and this variant outnumbers all the others as the biggest race. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the idea of like, oh, it depends on how you died. I don't think that was a thing back when I originally joined the tribals, because when I was making one, they didn't tell me anything about that. So I don't think I'm pretty sure they didn't tell me anything about the gems and powers either. But I don't know. I could have just not paid attention, or I'm just not remembering. Anyway, striped tribals are the only kind of tribal that doesn't wear the striped socks. Instead, they have cut-like marks on their legs. They also have these markings on their backs and spots around their eyes. These tribals were murdered in their past lives, many most likely seeking revenge.
Looks at Skele. So Skele is going to basically be a striped tribal. If you were going to make Skele into a tribal, it would be a striped.
I mean, yes, if she was murdered. If she died naturally, she'd be a land one. So I imagine ultimately her fate would be to be murdered, but that's hard to say. It's hard to say what her final moments would be.
Pharaoh tribals are probably the most intimidating looking tribals of all the variants. They are typically warmer colored, such as red or orange, wear socks that look faded with blood along with their unicorn horns, have the same stripes on their backs as striped tribals do, and their face marking makes it look like their eyes are bleeding or crying depending on the color. These tribals are violent and were murderers in their past lives, or were killed after being attacked by an animal, hence the feral name.
So
That's pretty cool.
Skele would be this one. This one would be the one that Skele was.
So basically also Skylar.
Yeah, basically also Skylar. So seraph tribals are tribals who have wings. They have wings. I knew there was winged tribals somewhere. They have a blaze with 2 stripes on each side of their face. Am I missing something there? What does that mean exactly? I feel like I'm missing something there. I don't know why.
Maybe.
They have a blaze. They have a blaze with 2 stripes on each side of their face. I feel like I misread something. I don't know. These tribals died from falling from extreme heights or were victims in plane/helicopter crashes. The hair on their tail is replaced with feathers that aid them when flying. Their ears also are feathery, and they have plumage all around their necks, shoulders, and back, mixed with fur. Their bodies are usually slimmer to be more aerodynamic.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love the description of these tribals.
Yeah, I like the idea of like they died from like plane and helicopter and like aerial vehicle crashes and stuff, because it kind of fits with the whole like, oh, we have wings and we can fly. Because if they were in those situations, they probably liked flying, and so they would probably want to fly in the afterlife, which is essentially what this place is, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I get the last one,
Yeah, you get
which
the last one.
actually is a kind of sad one to me. Out of
Mm-hmm.
all of them, the
Mm-hmm.
aquatic ones are like the saddest because I have a fear. I mean, I like the seraph and the aquatic because literally I have fear of both falling from high places and from drowning.
Yeah, I'm really terrified of heights. Not necessarily. I
So
guess pretty much
aquatic
with all of them.
tribals
Yeah.
are, as the name suggests, aquatic. They have fish tails and they can live in water. Their markings look like gills under the eyes. These tribals drowned in their past life. They also have gills on the side of their necks. They are the only tribals that can see under the dark waters of the expurgate.
So again, that allows for so much more lore. Like the aquatic tribals are the key to the tribals introducing more lore, because right now we just finished all the lore here. We don't know very much about this deep depths of these waters. If they want to improve on their lore, which there's not really anything to improve, the thing that they would need to improve on is adding more, because that's the only way to improve it. It's perfect, really, more or less. Um, so if they wanted to add more lore, I think the key would be to focus on the aquatic tribals and what's in these dark waters, because
I
there's
mean,
clearly a
that's also at the
society
same
there.
time
That's
true, but
yeah,
also at the same time, it's kind of like the Earth's waters. We only explored 5% of that shit.
yeah, yeah.
We don't
That's
know shit about our lore, about our waters, so it's just like,
yeah,
hmm.
yeah.
No thank you, wham bam, no thank you ma'am. There probably could be megalodons in that shit and we don't even know it.
There could be aliens in there and we wouldn't even know it. There could be aquatic tribals in there and we wouldn't even know it. But the point is, they can take from reality and keep it as like super mysterious as they want. But if they want to add more lore, I think this is the easiest way for them to just introduce more lore. Like have it to where the aquatic tribals have an entire society down there or something, because we don't know what's going on down there. And it seems like it's its own world, so to speak. Like it's obviously still part of the Expurgate or whatever, but it seems like it's also its own like sort of world in its own right, because it's so deep down there and there's no way for anyone else to get down there. Maybe you could have it to where there's some tribal who's of a different variant who has a power to be able to get down there, some kind of water manipulation type powers, and they were able to advance their powers enough to where they can get down there, and then they learned all of these things and recorded them down in some kind of journal to teach the other tribals what's going on down there. That could be a way to introduce it, or you could literally just have aquatic tribals come up and just start teaching the other tribals all kinds of cool and crazy things. Maybe they're super advanced down there somehow, or maybe they know things about the soul and stuff like that that these other tribals don't know, and they want to teach them. Or heck, you can go the very stereotypical tropey route and just have the aquatic tribals come out and attack everyone too. It's up to you. There's so many opportunities to use these aquatic tribals to expand on the lore even further. But the lore right here is perfect. I applaud this lore here. I applaud it. It is very good.
Yes.
It's probably the best
Also,
lore we've
when we
looked at so
get
far.
yeah, as we get onto the designs, they
Mm-hmm.
literally tell you step by step on how to
Yeah,
actually design your you
your
know,
tribal. I remember when
yeah.
I remember when I made one way back when. I had no real problem following whatever tutorial they had at the time. Obviously, this isn't the same one because I didn't join this year at all, and the top message up here is from the 3rd of the second month, so February 3rd or whatever. So yeah, I think they've like reset a lot of things, but this tutorial looks absolutely perfect. No real issues with that. They give you plenty of options to choose between multiple different kinds of tails, and it's just free enough to be like, hey, you can do almost whatever you want, while at the same time being limited enough to where you're definitely going to be able to tell when there's a tribal there. You can definitely discern a tribal, even if there is a seraph tribal or a different kind of land tribal or whatever else. You can definitely tell when there's a tribal there because they all look similar enough.
But I also like the different designs of the tribals,
Mm-hmm.
like the different what type they are. And it's so beautiful the way that they do these.
I think they did a really good job with the design and everything like that. But of
I love how the
course,
aquatic ones have like side notes because people apparently do not listen whatsoever.
That's the thing about owning a species or running a species. It is very difficult sometimes, even if you have an extremely simple tutorial, to get the message across on what you're allowed and what you're not allowed. So looking at their art, this like most previous artwork they put on here, I freaking love this. It's like the council here, and they seem to be discussing something to someone and some people or something. It looks very interesting. I love this. So good.
I like going to the tribal art, and you could just see that the art that they do for the species is just so fucking beautiful. As I told Danny, and as I said at the beginning, they have such beautiful artists, and I'm just over here
Yeah,
like, they're so beautiful.
so much good art here. And you, the tiny tribal.
Yes.
There's so many good things in here. There's also some very simplistic things. They definitely got some good artists here. And looking at the featured art, you can definitely see that. But even just like looking at these, they look really good. I mean, these are just amazing, all of them. So
Yeah, let me go
overall,
to the featured art.
yeah, the
The
featured art.
council.
Yeah, the
Oh,
council.
and
That's the first thing I looked at was the. These seem to be previous server icons, is what this seems to be like.
these are so beautiful.
Yeah.
Season 2 icon. That's a
Oh,
beautiful.
that was by
These
Kiwi.
are
That
beautiful.
was Kiwi the Dragon that did that.
Yeah.
It
And then we
was.
have Sky, who did a
Yeah.
cute little season 2 uh Aqua Tribals
Yeah.
animation thing.
Mhm.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. And then you have this most recent one here, previous season 3 icon by Cameron. Cameron, your art's amazing.
Cameron is such a beautiful artist. Hello, that's why he's literally part of the Giplin's team for their art, for their hard work. Yes. Hello.
Whew, there's so much good stuff here. I don't really know what else to say other than bravo tribals.
Bravo.
I expected good things from the tribals here, and I wasn't disappointed.
But I was not disappointed at all. I was
Um,
more taken aback.
yeah,
I have not read the lore for the video because I wanted to actually be surprised when I did the video.
yeah.
But I was
I mostly skimmed through it and saw that they had chapters and stuff like that. Or, I mean, I guess that's kind of the best way to describe that. But I saw that they had like chapters essentially, and I saw how long it was, and I kind of skimmed through a couple of things, but I didn't really read through the whole thing because, like you, I wanted to go through it blind and kind of, get the immediate thoughts on it instead of sitting on those thoughts for like a week or two or whatever. And I gotta say, I mean, I can't find any issues. Like, honestly, I'm not even lying. I'm trying to find issues, but I really can't find any. like,
except for that one typo, the canyons. That's the
that,
only typo.
that bothered me, but that's not really an issue with the lore itself. That's just like, oh, there's just one typo there.
Yeah, but other than that, I just the story was beautiful. It got me hooked. It made me actually want to make a tribal because of learning about
Yeah,
all this. It makes me want to actually be part of the species that, as we said about the pastel pangus, lore is important to
hmm,
hook people in. If you
yeah.
love a story or whatever, your story slash lore or whatever, both, it doesn't matter, is going to hook people in.
Yeah, and people are going to want to be part of that. They're going to want to, be into it more so they can see more of whatever happens next or more of the lore and history or whatever else. They want to, once you, hook someone like that, they're going to want to make a species because they're going to want to be part of your species because they're going to want to, continue to learn more about that story if it progresses further. They're going to want to interact with other people that were obviously interested in the same thing. It allows you to grow your community a little bit faster because, the more lore you have, the more there's to discuss, and the more that there's to discuss, there's more people that have more different views on that lore, and you can get really good discussions going on about them. And this species, looking at it, it feels like with other species that we've done, that all the species seem to be doing it the wrong way over and over and over again. They were self-inserting. They were mixing their political ideals and stuff like that in there. The Hellwalkers mix sort of religion in there, but I don't think they did it in a very good way. The Tribals are mixing religion in there, but they're doing it in a very unique way because it's more or less a different heaven and hell,
telling
and
their
it's a
own story.
different, yeah, it's their
Yeah.
own, yeah, it's not like the same heaven and hell. Even if you like look at where it says heaven and hell, it's in a parentheses or whatever.
Oh, that
Something I could say to tweak it, and this is a very nitpicky thing, you could literally just rename heaven and rename hell to something else.
like
if
the
you wanted to,
Giplins,
yeah,
like
yeah, like the
like
Giplins did.
Alisto being heaven and
Yeah,
your show being hell. But
yeah,
that's just a little nitpicky thing.
yeah.
But like
I mean,
overall,
they've renamed
the lore.
Purgatory. They renamed Purgatory, so it makes sense for them to rename the other ones. And maybe that's something they've been planning to do. They just haven't thought of a name yet, and that's why it's in the
What
parentheses
is
and
the
whatever
angel?
else. So,
What is the angel?
oh
What is
yeah,
the angel?
that's true too. We don't know fully what the deal with that was or anything. So there's definitely mysteries to unravel here. And there's definitely more to learn about this lore, and that's something again that has got me hooked, and so it's something to keep an eye on, and it's definitely something that if you wanted to join a species here with good lore, I would definitely recommend the tribals. I can definitely recommend the tribals to anyone. They have a good looking design. You see a tribal, it's a tribal. It's not like, oh, that just happens to be some random OC or something like that. No, that's a tribal. That is a species. It's so obvious to tell, and it looks so good. All their variants, even when all the variants are next to each other, they all look close enough to be the same. So, yeah, I mean, there's not anything to say other than they've done an excellent job.
So, from our total thoughts on this, tribals are beautiful. They have amazing art. They have amazing design, and it's it's not that simple, but it's simple enough to tell that yes, this is a species.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the most beautiful storytelling lore that'll get anybody who is into lore and storytelling hooked.
Yeah, they've definitely see, that's the thing too. They've kind of told their lore in a little bit of a different way than what we've done so far as well. The closest comparison to what we've covered so far is the Pastel Pingus, but the tribals seem to have done it a step further. Whoever wrote this lore and everything like that definitely knows what they're doing, and good job. I'm not gonna say it's Heather, but it probably is. Bravo, guys. That's really all I can say. That's legit all I can say. Do you have anything else to say, Lily?
If you want to join a really good species, tribals.
Tribals.
And congrats once again, Cam, for graduating college.
Yeah, congrats on that, dude. That's pretty good. But anyway, I think that's it. I think we've done everything. I think we've covered everything. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, please do like, subscribe, and share, and do all of those wonderful things. Because when you do those wonderful things, you get access to wonderful content such as this.
But that's not all you get. You also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time,
Stay wonderful.
stay wonderful.